Hi everyone, I'm McDices, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new Silent Hill updates, since we got announced 4 brand new titles coming up throughout the Silent Hill franchise, with various trailers coming out as well. I do have an extensive history of playing these games, like many horror games. I've played them both casually, I've played them all my life, and more importantly, I have done extensive work speedrunning the entirety of the Silent Hill franchise, both the good and the bad. So I feel like, with my history of this, I wanted to just kind of tell you my thoughts on all 4 of the upcoming Silent Hill titles. As well, in terms of YouTube videos, this is going to be much more freeform. I don't really have a script for this. I'm kind of just going off the cuffs, so I'll probably be doing minor editing on the fly, and I hope that you just enjoy my thoughts on the 4 titles of the new Silent Hill games. To start things off, we have Silent Hill Townfall. Silent Hill Townfall was kind of weird to me watching. It really just had the radio, and I think this is the one that had the beach as well. But it seems like it's going to be building up to a much longer sort of like franchise ordeal, kind of like a Twilight Zone sort of thing. I guess it's meant to be an anthology from what I've been hearing about the buzz online so far, and I don't quite know how I feel about it yet. I don't know a lot about Annapurna, and overall, this is the one I want to talk about first, just because realistically, there's not too much more than what we heard about the radio. I'm hoping that'll be promising, but obviously, we're not going to know until we see more, but I am excited to see, like many things with Silent Hill, what's to come with this.
I think you're here for some other reason. And I don't want to be anywhere near you when you figure that out.
Silent Hill F is probably the project that I am most excited for here. Just watching the trailer, having it take place in 1960s Japan, the aesthetic, the music, everything about it just screams what I want in the game. I want to note that, for one, the imagery of all the flowers is something that's really cool, and while watching this, I really was thinking about Rule of Rose, mainly because of the piano aesthetics. If you listen to that OST, you'll notice it's very reminiscent of a Rule of Rose style game, and as well, just the beauty of it all really kind of hits that. In addition, it's kind of nice to kind of leave the US for Silent Hill. For the longest time, Silent Hill has taken place in really just the town of Silent Hill. I guess it's kind of nice to just see it pop up in other areas in that degree, and as well, we can't forget the fact that it's being made by the people who did Higurashi, or the guy who did it, I suppose, the writer, who did Higurashi. And I also heard Human Neko. I don't know much about that one, but I know Higurashi is really cool. It is a horror anime with very gory, violent imagery, so I'm pretty sure this is going to be right up my alley, and I can't wait to play this one. I think it's going to be extremely exciting. As well, we were hit with Silent Hill Ascension. Silent Hill Ascension is going to be, it looks like an online deal. I don't really know how to feel about this one. On the upside, I mean, online multiplayer games are all the rage these days with things like Dead by Daylight. And speaking of Dead by Daylight, apparently Behavior is going to be working on this. Behavior did end up, developing, and they currently still work on Dead by Daylight, so they have a knack for multiplayer games. And I know Silent Hill has given the IP to Dead by Daylight in the past with Pyramid Head and Cheryl. However, with this, it's going to be looking kind of weird because, well, we just sort of have the monster, and then you have the Discord messages or the forum postings, and with the forum postings, I don't know, I think it is kind of neat to have a multiplayer deciding of the canon according to the tweet I saw, but this one, I'm optimistic about. I don't know how cool it's going to be, but the idea of a giant arc for many Silent Hill fans is pretty reminiscent of how the franchise has gone, especially the past 10 years of people talking about it, and it's really been the only way to keep things alive. Also, I'm waiting for the joke of, I really hope there's a reference to it too, of Alex Shepard's famous forum posting about Silent Hill 4, also known as the circumcision theory, which that comes up here. I hope it makes an appearance in Ascension, but only time will tell, right? Anyway, last but not least, and probably the bulk of what we're going to end up talking about, is the return to Silent Hill with Silent Hill 2. First off, it looks pretty good. You know, modern age, modern graphics. I feel like it's not badly designed. Personally, in terms of an aesthetic, I think Bloober games aren't bad looking. A lot of people do have their complaints about Bloober, which I'll also be using this video to explain why people don't like Bloober. But in terms of actual appearance, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Some people have already questioned about the modern age graphics that are going to be dated, but no, I think the game looks fine. I think it's stylized enough where it's not going to age like total trash like many games of the 360 era, and I think Bloober does do actual aesthetics pretty well. I think they'll be able to nail the town. Personally, I've been playing a lot of Blair Witch lately, and just being able to wander around aimlessly, funny enough, is something Bloober can do quite well. Speaking of Bloober, though, as a studio, a lot of people give them flack, and the reason why is for two reasons. One, a lot of their games tend to be replaying the hits, quote-unquote. Which means that a lot of the games tend to be reminiscent of Layers of Fear, which was the PT clone, which, funny enough, going back to Silent Hill, is the start of Bloober's real discography. I know Observer exists, but a lot of their games really more stem from Layers of Fear. Generally, it's the haunted house, you walk through it, things change. I'm hoping that's not going to make an appearance in Silent Hill 2 coming up, and from what I was able to find from some tweets, it does sound like Konami has a bit of a leash, or at least we can hope they have a bit of a leash. If they have that, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Mainly because Bloober has gotten flack over their portrayal of mental health in video games. Such games like Layers of Fear, Blair Witch, and The Medium really can be boiled down to a single phrase of mental illness bad, which that's not really the best way of handling the nuance of mental health, especially in video games. And going to a game like Silent Hill 2 and the story that it's about, it weighs very heavily that you have to take care of it with a sense of delicacy. You can't just, you know, oh, James was a bad guy the whole time, because the whole thing of Silent Hill 2 is it's so much deeper than James just being a random bad guy. It's about the nuance of having to make an end-of-life decision, and it weighs heavily on the theme of assisted suicide. So, anyway, with that, even though Bloober has had a bit of a rough past, I'm actually surprisingly hopeful about this, despite what my Twitter might say. I made a funny tweet about it, and it was for laughs, but I do think Bloober will try a good enough job, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. I do want to note, though, that we're definitely getting into that realm of homogenization. Because I can definitely see that we have the standard over-the-shoulder third-person combat that many games have been doing probably since about the Dead Space era. I know RE4 did it, but Dead Space definitely feels like it's the one that more modernly has that style. So, that being said, I'm not excited for that, but I do think the game will go well, especially if they continue amping on the monster design and the general level areas. I do kind of wish we got to see more of some of the side characters. I do know we saw a little bit of them, and, you know, we got to hear James's voice, but we haven't got to see much of Laura yet. We haven't seen too much Maria yet, Eddie, or Angela. I heavily feel like, you know, with such a short cast of a game, all these casting decisions, all the way that these characters are portrayed is going to be massive. And speaking of the whole mental health thing as well, Angela's whole arc is going to be supremely heavy about having that just sympathy towards her and her actions. Anyway, I'm really excited for all the Silent Hill projects coming up. I know on my end I plan on playing them day one, or even earlier if I'm able to, and I'm quite excited to see where the franchise takes us. However, I do want to use this part of the video to say that I am very cautiously optimistic. I don't ever like going into something with full optimism. I think that's an easy way to be let down. But I did see it pointed out. 10 years ago, we had a new Silent Hill movie, a new Silent Hill HD remaster of some of the classic games, a new Silent Hill franchise entry, and a new Silent Hill multiplayer game. Wait a minute. Doesn't that sound familiar? Just saying, although while it's okay to be excited, do go in with some caution, just because, as you remember with Downpour, as you remember with Book of Memories, as you remember with the HD collection and the Silent Hill Revelations movie, not all things are going to be gold, and, you know, problems can happen. That being said, though, I indulge both the good and the bad Silent Hill games, and I think each of these games are going to be incredibly charming, and I don't think they're going to succumb to the general boredom or uninspired design of many horror games. I think even if they end up being bad, at the very least, they're going to be interesting. So, buckle up, everyone, and I hope that you enjoyed these words on this. As well, if you're watching this over on YouTube, well, I guess I'm only recording this on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what you think of the Silent Hill updates or the trailers. Let me know which one is your favorite. They do help the algorithm, so... Anyway, I've been Nick Dices, and I'm excited to see where the Silent Hill franchise takes us. Have a good one!